Okay, fourth grade, we are so close to the end of the book. We're on chapter 32, and I think there are 35 chapters. So today, tomorrow, we're definitely going to wrap it up here. Thank you, Sterling Publications, for letting us read Insignificant Events in the Life of the Cactus. Chapter 32. All right. I sat with Zion out on the sidewalk at lunchtime the next day. Do you know where Connor's been? He asked, popping a potato chip into his mouth. He offered me one, and I took it from him with my toes. No, I haven't seen him the last couple of days. I stared down at my lunch, slowly chewing the potato chip. I don't know. What's wrong? Zion asked. Why would anything be wrong? How come you don't know where he is? It's not like I know where he is all the time, I snorted. I'm not his all the time watcher person, you know. Zion raised an eyebrow at me. Avon, he said in a very scolding tone. I sighed. Okay, fine. We got into a fight. What about? I shrugged. He hurt my feelings, I hurt his feelings, so everybody's feelings got hurt. That's all. I looked up at him. It was a misunderstanding. You better fix it, Zion said. I can't fix anything if I can't find him. He's got to come back to school at some point, right? And when he does, I trailed off. What would happen then? And when he does, Zion prompted. And when he does, I'll make it right. So I walked into the saloon and steakhouse after school and sat at the bar. The bartender, fully bedecked in cowboy gear, even though I knew he was just a regular old college student, raised an eyebrow at me. Give me a stiff one, Charlie, I said. I could tell he was holding back a bit of a smile. Avon, you know you can't sit at the bar. I groaned and dropped my head forward onto the old wooden bar. My forehead hit the shiny, polished oak with a loud thump. It's a stupid rule, I muttered, pressing my forehead to the cold wood. It's not my rule, Charlie said. It's the... what's that thing called? Oh yeah, the law. It's the law. He pointed at a nearby table. Come on, go sit over there and I'll bring you your drink. I got down from the bar stool, dragging my forehead off the bar as I went. You better put extra cherries in it today, I said, flopping down at the table. 1 minute later, Charlie placed my drink in front of me. One Sarah Saparilla for the forlorn redhead. Extra maraschino cherries. I frowned. What makes you think I'm forlorn? He touched my forehead. Well, you've got a big fat red spot on your face from bashing it on the bar. Then he went back behind the counter to tend to a couple other customers. I sadly swigged down my drink through the straw Charlie had kindly provided. When the drink was nearly gone, I made very deliberate slurping sounds as I tried to get the very last of my drink. The people at the bar stared at me, but I didn't care. I slurped even louder. I think I was trying to drown out the sounds of the annoying player piano, which I really wanted to kick to death at that moment. Now that it's the most theatrical display of melodramatics I have ever seen in my life. That was in quotation marks. Who must have said that? I looked up and found Josephine standing in front of me. I sat back from my empty drink. Sorry, I mumbled. Josephine pulled out a chair and sat down across from me. You want to tell me what's the matter? I shrugged again. Why would you think something's the matter? I asked, frowning so hard it hurt the muscles in my face. Oh, gee, I don't know. Could it be that you've been moping around this place for the last few days like someone had died? No one died. I stared at the red and white plastic checkerboard tablecloth. But my friend is mad at me. Oh, she said. The one who barks all the time? I nodded. You two seem to be pretty good pals. I'm sure you'll work it out. I raised my eyes and looked at Josephine. I realized I knew absolutely nothing about her, except she worked at Stagecoach Pass, and she'd done that since it had opened. Despite seeing her all the time, she was always too busy to ever speak to me. I didn't want to lose this chance to get any information I could. Do you have a family, Josephine? I asked. She looked a little bit surprised at the question. No, I don't. Have you ever been married? She smiled again. Never had time for that kind of nonsense. The plot thickens. I just nodded in agreement. I don't think I ever will either. And then she laughed. Only 13 years old and already knows she won't ever marry. Then she slapped the table. That just about figures. What figures? Josephine looked like I had just caught her letting out some gigantic loud noise or something. Oh, nothing, just young people these days. I stared at her. You've worked here a very long time, haven't you? Yep, about 60 years. Wow, I said, that's a long time. Yes, it is. So you've always worked in the restaurant? Oh, no, I've done all kinds of jobs around here. Just about everything there is to do. Were you ever the fortune teller? Are we going to get some questions answered here? She laughed. Well, maybe not everything there is to do here. Why do you stay here then? She drummed her fingers on the plastic tablecloth. I guess because I like it. I studied her face. So, you were here in 1973? Now she stopped drumming her fingers and tilted her head a little. Sure. Why? Well, do you remember a girl who was here? A girl who looked just like me, but with arms? I know this sounds crazy, but I think her name also was Avon. All right, this seemed to make Josephine really uncomfortable. She shifted in her seat. I don't really recall. Then she pushed away from the table and stood up. You know who I'm talking about, don't you? I really got to get back to work, she told me. The cowboy. Is she avoiding something? The chapter just trails off with those cowboys. What could happen next? The suspense. All right, new chapter. Chapter 33. And it's loading. Don't you love it when the screen does something like that? Wait for it. It'll come. While we're waiting for it to load, we can think about, what does she mean? Those cowboys. Does she know something about 1973 that she's not letting on? Could be. And why would she work there for 60 years? Is it because she just enjoys it? Is she part of the Kavanaugh family, possibly? I don't know. It's kind of crazy. And it is still sinking. All right. Maybe we'll just stop right there. 7 minutes, 8 minutes. We'll definitely finish tomorrow. All right. Have a good afternoon. Oh, wait. There it is. Lucky break. The next day after school is where chapter 33 starts. The next day after school, I made my way to the bus, hoping I would find Connor on it. Instead, I found Dad standing in front of it waiting for me. What are you doing here, Dad? I asked him. I brought you this. And he lifted a bag he had strapped over his shoulder and hung it around my neck. It's got your shorts and t-shirt in it. And shin guards. Now, do you know why? And Mom ordered you brand new cleats with Velcro. I just sighed. Dad, I'm not saying you have to go to tryouts, he said. I'm just giving you the option. You can either turn around and make your way to the field over there, or you can carry this bag onto the bus and go home. Then he kissed my forehead. Your choice, Sheebs. I watched him walk away. No pressure. I stood there on the sidewalk as the kids poured onto the bus, my soccer bag hanging around my neck, still hoping I just might see Connor. I had loved soccer from that very first kick in second grade. I was trying to get it to download here. I was so good at soccer. It almost felt like I was cheating because I used my feet for my hands, and you're not allowed to use your hands in soccer. But don't tell anyone. Soccer ended up being the good bonding experience that Dad had always wanted for us. He would practice with me at home after school. We would watch soccer games on TV together. After the Lone Ranger, of course. We had fun cheering on Brazil. And I don't know why we cheered for Brazil, but I think it was because they call it football instead of soccer there. Dad said that made so much more sense. I asked him what football would be called then, if soccer, was called football. Man smash, he had said. Dad and I weren't the only ones who loved it, though. Mom always came to the games. She was like one of those embarrassing, crazy people you hear about who take kids' sports way too seriously. She would constantly yell at my coach, and my coach would threaten to ban her from the games. The coach was Dad. You getting on or what, Avon? The bus driver asked, startling me out of my gaze. It was hard to think about putting myself out there again, trying to be part of a new team at a new school with a new coach. Everybody staring at me. But there are a lot of hard things in life. Who would I be if I gave up when things got hard? I'll tell you who I'd be. The Queen of Sheba. I looked up at the bus driver. Not today. Yay. I told him and turned and walked away. Chapter 34. I dropped my bag onto the bench by the field and walked over to a cluster of soccer balls. I pulled one out of the group with my foot and started dribbling it around slowly. I glanced at a small group of girls who were also trying out for the team. They were all talking and laughing together. I went back to dribbling the ball around, focusing all my attention on dribbling, trying not to think about the group of girls standing on the other side of the field staring. Hi, I heard someone say from behind me. I stopped the ball with my foot and turned around. Oh, it was the girl I had briefly spoken with in science class on my first day of school. She had her long brown hair pulled up in a ponytail. Avon, right? She had said. I breathed heavily from working with the ball. That's right. Well, I'm Jessica, she said, tightening her ponytail. We were watching you with the ball. This could go one of two ways. My stomach sank. Of course they were watching me. I tried not to worry about this. And I tried not to let my shoulders slump. Oh, you're really good. How long have you been playing? Yes. Oh, I said a little more brightly. Since about second grade. How about you? Oh, this is my second year. I'm sure you're going to make the team. I hope my smile wasn't so big that I looked spastic. You think so? Definitely. You have really good control over the ball. Thanks. You're going to love being on the soccer team, Jessica went on, like I had already made it. It's so fun when we have away games. Last year we did makeovers on the bus, and we prank called Coach Fuller on her cell phone from the back. That's her over there. And Jessica pointed at a short, stout, gray-haired woman who was intensely studying a piece of paper on the other side of the field. After like the 10th time we did it, she did start yelling. I'm going to call the cops on you, you hoodlums. Everyone on the bus could hear her. She laughed. It was hilarious. Olivia filmed her on her phone. She gestured at the group of girls. I assumed one of them must have been Olivia. We'll show you the video sometime. It's so funny. That sounds like fun, I said. I sure hope I make it. You'll love it. We also have pizza parties. And last year, we had a team slumber party. Coach Fuller called us over to get us started, though. I guess we better go, I said to Jessica. She smiled at me. Yeah, let's go. She motioned for me to follow her, and even though I walked beside her on the way to the coach, I felt more like dancing on my way over. This is a very positive turn of events, isn't it? Chapter 35. Dad drove me home after soccer tryouts. He had shown up when they ended, like he'd never had any doubt I would go try out. Did that sound right? Let's try that sentence one more time. Dad drove me home after soccer tryouts. He had shown up when they ended like he'd never had any doubt I would go try out. What a know-it-all. He beamed and asked a million questions as I described every detail of the tryouts to him in the car. When we got back to Stagecoach Pass, he opened the center console and pulled out an envelope. I found this in a drawer in the steakhouse. This is big. He turned the envelope over and I saw that one word was written on it. Desk. They don't fit the desk in the office. He opened the flap on my book bag and slipped the envelope inside. Let me know what you find in there, Sheebs. I ran as fast as I could to the storage shed before I lost the last bit of light creeping in through the filmy windows. I slipped a foot out of my flat and opened my book bag. I moved the envelope and slid my toes inside, pulling out a ring with 2 small keys hanging off it. I felt like I was playing one of those impossible carnival games as I attempted to slip one of the keys held between my toes into the hole. This is what we've been waiting for, like the whole book. I slipped it into the desk. It finally fit. Of course it did. It finally fit and I pushed it all the way in with the bottom of my foot. It took all my strength to turn it, and it kind of hurt the skin on my toes. But the key turned in the lock. I pulled the bottom drawer out and looked inside. Another whole stack of papers. I pulled those out, barely able to read any of them in the failing light. But underneath the stack, lying on the bottom of the drawer... Maybe I should just stop here for the day. What do you think? No, I can't. Okay. There was a picture frame. I carefully lifted it out with my feet and laid it on the floor in front of me. It was of two red-haired ladies. They stood in front of the steakhouse, and they had their arms around each other. The older one clearly recognized. The other one, I didn't, but I could see my face into hers. And she wore the necklace, and she was pregnant. Is it all coming together? Your mind should be racing right now. I slipped the picture into my book bag and carried it home. Mom was already putting dinner on the table when she turned and gave me a huge smile. So, how did it go? For a moment, I didn't know what she was talking about. Oh, soccer. No, it went great. But what's wrong? She asked. I opened the desk, I told her. And then she stared at me silently. I found a picture in there. The picture's in my bag. Mom immediately lifted my bag off of me and carried it to the table. She opened it and pulled the picture out, studying it intensely. I know where it goes, I told her. We walked to the museum together, and Mom pressed the picture against the empty space in the wall. The Kavanaughs, 2004. The year I was born. Mom let out a huge sigh. After you showed Dad and me the picture of that girl, we worried maybe it was something like this. But we weren't sure, and we didn't know who would have. Well, we even tried contacting the adoption agency we used, but your old birth certificate and any identifying records were all sealed. They couldn't tell us anything. We hadn't decided what else to do about it yet. I don't know what to do either, I said. Do you think she knows? Mom turned to me and ran a hand down my hair. How could she not? She put her hands on my shoulders and squeezed. Do you want to go talk to her? I looked at the older lady in the picture. I had to know, and my parents needed to know. I took a deep breath. All right, I whispered. Do you want me to go with you? I looked up at her. I think maybe I should go alone. Mom nodded. I understand. So I made my way to the steakhouse, the photo in my bag. I watched as Josephine took an order from a table and then followed her back to the kitchen. She noticed me as she placed a couple of burgers on her tray. What you doing back here, Avon? I need to talk to you. I'm awfully busy. She pushed through the swinging doors back to the dining room, and I followed her out to the table. I waited while she placed the burgers in front of the customers. I really need to talk to you, I told her again as I followed her back into the kitchen. I could have easily walked away, but I wasn't going to let her, or my nerves, scare me off. So she stopped and folded her arms. Now, what could be so important? Do you guys think this is pretty important? What could be so important that you would interrupt dinner like this? So I stared at her, my heart racing. I won't leave until you talk to me. Then she made a really big, frustrated sigh and led me to the restaurant's little office. Better make it quick. I've got tables out there. So I placed my bag on the desk, opened the flap, and pulled out the framed picture with my foot. It was heavy. And my toes trembled, and it started to slip. Josephine reached out and grabbed it before it could drop, and she slowly turned the picture over in her shaking hands. I know you know her, I said. Please tell me the truth. Yes, her eyes filled with tears as she stared down at the photograph. I do. This was taken the year I was born, and I found another picture when she was my age. She looked just like me. She's my mother, isn't she? Josephine nodded. And you're both Kavanaghs? She nodded again. Yes. She was my daughter. That means you're my grandmother? She looked up at me from the picture. I am. Is that why I'm here now? Are you the one who brought us here? You're here because I just wanted to see you, to meet you. Then I shook my head. Why? What for? Were you ever going to tell me? No. I took a deep breath and let it out slowly. I'm so confused. So, where's my mother anyway? Is she somewhere around here? She's gone, Josephine said. She died a few weeks after you were born. I breathed. I had always assumed my parents had just given me up. Wow, because of my disability. I had never considered that my mother had died. I told her it was too soon to do a show, but she wouldn't listen to anyone. No one ever told her she couldn't do anything. She wiped at her eyes. No, sirree, she added in a whisper. We think she had a dizzy spell because it was so unlike her to fall off a horse like that. I bit my lip. I'm so sorry. Josephine shook her head and waved a hand in the air. So, what about my father? I asked. Josephine shrugged. Don't know. Ava never told me who it was. You see, she always wanted a baby, but never did find anyone she wanted to marry. She was getting quite a bit older, and I guess she just decided to take things into her own hands. She said I did it all on my own, and she could too. She was always like that, take charge, do everything on her own, no one tell her otherwise. She's the one who named you Avon. Josephine laughed. She said men do it all the time. Why shouldn't daughters be the name of their mother? She was a firecracker. So when she died, I didn't know what to do. I was getting on in years already and had this park to look after. I didn't think I could provide the attention and care a baby like you needed. So I just thought it would be best to let a nice family adopt you. So you just let go of me? I said. Yes, into the foster care system for 2 full years? Then her eyes filled with tears. I didn't think that would happen. All I thought was that a nice, loving family would want to adopt a baby. A baby like you. A baby like me, I repeated. Then she shook her head. Oh, I'm saying everything all wrong. Would this be a hard conversation to have? It's kind of hard to know what the right words are. So Avon sighed. It doesn't matter now. You're right. A nice, loving family did adopt me, and that's all that matters. So how'd you find us anyway? Well, I never could stop thinking about you, wondering how you were doing. She looked down at the desk, her cheeks turning pink. So I hired someone to find you some years back. And she looked up at me like she was checking on my reaction and then looked away again. He's been, giving me regular reports about what's been going on with you. Oh, so you've been stalking us, I cried. No. Not stalking, just checking to make sure y'all was okay. That's how I found out your daddy'd been out of work for a while and y'all was about to lose your house. We were? I asked, surprised at the information. Of course, didn't they tell you? They're such good parents. Yeah, they are. So anyway, I got this plan forming in my head to ask your daddy to apply for the job. I hadn't been managing the park for years. I just couldn't do it after... Then she looked down at the picture. Anyway, I prefer to be in the restaurant just working, keeping an eye on things, sort of secret-like. My old park manager didn't have anything under his hat but hair, so I was really relieved to see your daddy had worked as a restaurant manager. I thought it was worth a shot. I didn't know if he'd apply, but I'm sure glad he did. How come he doesn't know you're the owner? Oh, I go by Joe Kavanaugh for all the business dealings, but around here, Josephine Oakley. Gives me an air of mystery, don't you think? I stared at her, not exactly sure what to think of this. So if they all knew who I was, they'd be bothering me about every little thing like they used to. I just couldn't handle that anymore. Only my accountant, Gary, knows the truth, and I prefer it that way. So she ran a hand through her dyed red hair. And Henry, by his mind going, no one else round here worked back when Avon was here, and I thought I did a really good job of making sure no one would ever know who I was. She smiled at me. I should have known you'd figure it out, though, smart as you are, just like your ma. I took a deep breath. So what now? Do you expect me to call you Grandma or something? Oh, heavens no. I never even planned on telling you who I was. I'm leaving Stagecoach Pass. It's time for me to retire. You know, over 80 years old and still working like a dog? Stick a fork in me. I'm done. Figurative language at its best. But where will you go? The Golden Sunset Retirement Community. Only about 5 miles from here. She nodded. Yep, they've got a swimming pool and mediocre cafeteria food. I guess it'll do. Then she stared at me. I don't expect you to want me in your life. I'm just glad to know y'all are doing okay now. What are you going to do with Stagecoach Pass? I asked, really worried now that my parents would be left without jobs again. Well, it's yours. I stood up straight. What do you mean? I mean, you own it. Right now, it's under your parents' control, but when you turn 18, it's all yours. Do with as you please. Are you serious? She nodded. You're my only family. It's all I can do for you. This land is worth a lot of money. I stuck my chin out. Maybe I should just sell it and leave it. What do you guys think she should do? Little cliffhanger here. But as I turn the page to find out what she should do with it, oh dear. So, I gotta stop. We'll finish it up with just the final chapter tomorrow. Stay tuned.